What's your background from a say an education point of view, but also from a career point of view?
So my background's I'm originally from South India. I grew up in a little hill station called Ooty down like Tamil Nadu. I went to boarding school all my life. I pretty much left India when I was 17 in search of better life, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I wanted to really get into kind of Formula One when I had the passion for cars. And that's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to be a race engineer in Formula One.
Nice. Yeah.
So I pursued engineering. Technically, as a kid, I got given two choices.
Yeah.
being from an Indian ethnic origin, I got given two choices. They said, you either become a doctor or you become an engineer.
Oh, yeah.
I said, oh, fuck me. No. I just can't do that. Dealing with blood, never having a holiday. That's not me. That's not me. Yeah. So I went to Dubai to do my engineering. Dubai was getting big back then with all the FIA racing and all the different kinds of racing. Spent my entire 4 years of engineering on racetracks. Even my holidays, I'd spend it on go-kart tracks. Unfortunately for me, I graduated in 2008.
GFC.
The GFC.
Yeah.
And all the apprenticeship I did, I couldn't get any paid work. Nothing. Nada. Being in a foreign country as an immigrant, I had a choice to make, how much longer am I going to leech off mom and dad's bank?
As long as you can.
Yeah, as long as you can. No, man.
I've got 3 teenagers, man. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I bet you do, man. I've got 2 now. Yeah. Really young though.
Yeah. Enjoy them while they're that age. Yeah.
So what happened after that is, Mom McDonald, the company, came in and said, we're hiring engineers for our oil and gas division. So they put us all through like group interviews, and I didn't even want to be there. Because in my head, I didn't want to do anything else. It was either be a race engineer in Formula One, or there's no career at all. I couldn't comprehend anything else at that age.
So you had like a one-track mind pretty much, and you're like, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it.
Yeah, that's all I've been focusing on my entire life.
Yeah.
That's why I went to engineering school. That's why I went to Dubai. And suddenly I went, okay, one of my mates said, oh, why don't you just give it a go, man? Why don't you just show up at the interview? What are you going to do otherwise?
Yeah, what have you got to lose?
Yeah, what are you going to lose?
Yeah.
So I went and showed up at the group interview, not really interested. Everybody, anytime somebody said something, I'd come to the opposing view. Just switch and giggles.
Yeah. There's always that guy in the classroom, mate. There's always that one guy down the back.
I mean, more so I didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they said, oh, yeah, okay, we've got a list of people that we're moving on to like technical interviews. And they put me in technical interview. I was like, yep. Answered all the questions, moved on. They said, oh, you're cleared for the group interview. I mean, the one-on-one interview. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I went and sat in the group in the one-on-one interview, and the guy told me, we seldom come across people who've got social skill and analytical skill together.
Right. Yeah. That's a powerful combination, eh?
Yeah.
Because most people that would do that sort of work would probably be painful to talk to. Whereas, you can tell straight away you've got a good energy about you and you're a people person.
Yeah.
So to have those two skills, that's pretty sought after.
Yeah, apparently. I had no idea what I was doing there, right? And the guy asked me, what do you know about planning? I said, oh, not much. We did a little paper on it in school, but that's about it. Then he spoke to me about controls and planning, and he said, this is what we'd want to hire you for because we think you'd be a perfect fit because of your analytical skill where you can go away, do the analysis, but also communicate that message. I didn't really understand what he told me back then.
Yeah.
But my company was born from that.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll get to that.
Yeah.
So they're willing to pay me a decent amount of money. It was 8,000 dirhams.
Sure.
That was a lot of money back then. That's equivalent to about 3,000 New Zealand dollars.
Yeah.
So 10 years ago, as a fresh engineer, I was going to get $3,000 tax-free.
Yeah.
And that was huge for me.
And you're already thinking about how you're going to spend it. You're like, shit, this is good money.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
That's when my party life started.
Got to have a party life.
Yeah. So I kind of got into, I took the job and went, wow, okay. This is not so different from what I wanted to do with race engineering in Formula One. In Formula One, I would have managed change in milliseconds, in seconds. Here, I'm managing change on a project over days.
Right.
It's a bit slower, a bit more technical, I suppose. He had different sorts of technicality from a race car to an oil and gas project. But here I was managing cost, I was managing time, I was managing change. And I went, this is actually quite interesting. This is not very different from what I actually wanted to do.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of I got into my career because of the GFC and this opportunity that came by. And it was like, this is great. I just want to carry on doing this.
What was it about Formula One that appealed to you? Like, had you watched it growing up as a kid, or what was the attraction there?
I think for me, the first Formula One race I saw was all about the sound.
Yep.
I went, whoa, check that out. Imagine how much of effort it had gone into putting that open-seater, open-wheeled, single cockpit car together with all of those aerodynamics, and I wondered what else. So I got curious after that.
Yeah. So that lit the fire.
Yeah, lit the fire.
Yeah.
And then it went on and on and on, and it just never stopped. And I mean, part of my failure as well came through when I was trying to get into racing. Part of my university, we were trying to compete in Formula SAE. So it's a student version of where you get a engine, put it together, put a single seater racing car together with your mates, and you ship the car over to England for an event, and you compete with other universities.
So did you actually drive it, or you let a professional driver?
Hang on, we didn't even get that far.
Jumped again. Sorry.
Fail, mate. I couldn't even find sponsors. I put a team of mates together, and everybody was really interested and everything. We started doing research and putting things together, but couldn't get sponsors. And then I realized I didn't have a critical skill set, which was sales. So those are all like key learnings for me. You know, growing up, I was like, okay, maybe I'm not such a good salesman. I can talk maybe, but how am I selling a pitch? I learned that in university that I wasn't very good at it.
Right.
And then I had to learn how to do that. That was very, very interesting for me.
So was it sort of hard to get your head around, or did it come naturally to you to do the sales thing once you learned the framework of it?
I still don't understand how to do it properly.
It's a learning process.
It's still a learning curve. I think in the space I'm in, I think I'm quite lucky. I'm gifted. Touch wood. I'm quite lucky. I solve other people's problems for them. I raise an invoice and they pay me. Yeah, which is great. Yep. I keep solving problems. They keep solving more problems, and they keep engaging me on different projects. You know, just like that. In the last 2 years, I worked with 29 different construction companies.
Shit. In 2 years.
2 years and 3 months now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And has that mainly been on like commercial construction, or have you built? Because I guess one of the things I wanted to talk about with you was because we facility manage buildings, you know, like our residential buildings mainly, so big apartment buildings and things like that. And that's where I thought there might have been, you know, some like synergy to talk through. Have you done any residential stuff?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've worked for Fletcher Living. I've worked for a company called Tawera Group.
Yep.
I've recently worked with a company called Encall. So yeah, I do residential stuff. Not my favorite kind of work.
Yeah.
It's quite simple, straightforward builds. I prefer working in projects where it's quite complex.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody wants to touch. You know, and the harder it is, the better for me.
Yeah.
I love unraveling that complexity and helping kind of communicate a clear methodology to people, like, you know, in simple terms that people understand.
I imagine Dubai would have been a great place to work purely from the fact that they do a lot of complex, like one-off, biggest this, widest that, deepest that. Like, yeah, they do a lot of amazing, you know, project work over there. You know, that would have been quite interesting to you, I'd imagine.
It would be, but I never worked in construction in the Middle East. It was oil and gas for me.
Okay.
So it's like, in a way, I've kind of been really, really lucky to not almost worked in the same industry twice every time I switch jobs. So I started in oil and gas. I moved to iron and steel manufacturing, and then I went as a planning manager for the UFB project, the ultra-fast broadband all around Auckland, which is really interesting. Then I got into construction, working for Fletcher's for about 5 years, and
so you do all these different projects, and you must be in a situation where you learn something different off each one.
100%.
And you build this massive like knowledge base in your head. You know, how do you you must tap into that on every project and call in different aspects of what you learned?
Yeah. So every industry I worked in, you know, you start learning the systems, the processes, There are things some of these industries will do really well. There are some things they won't do very well. Interesting, when I stepped into construction, they were doing nothing well. Everything was going haywire. Communication was haphazard. Systems, processes, not too great. Adoption of technology, not the best. They had all the tools, but how are they pulling it all together? Yeah. So I guess that's what construction gelled at me. I mean, I could use what I've learned from oil and gas, from iron and steel manufacturing, from baggage handling systems, implementing baggage handling systems all over the world, to kind of going, how do we help the construction industry be faster, smarter, better, help them communicate more effectively? That's kind of my passion into construction and why I kind of do what I do now.
You talk about make them work more efficiently and effectively. Is communication one of the biggest aspects of like improving that speed, or are there a whole lot of other factors that you can change to speed up or make a work site, a construction site, more efficient?
There are only a few ways you can actually save time on a construction job. It's not too many. Yeah. One, you can throw more resources at it. Again, whether you're in limited space or confined space, or you've got areas to bring in more work fronts of people in, maybe. Two, you look at the methodology that you have in place and you rewrite the methodology. Yeah. And three, you build a functioning team. Yeah. I don't think there's any other way to actually save time on a construction project. I've been doing this for 14 years in different industries, and I'm going...
haven't quite figured it out yet, but I'm sure it'll come.
There's nothing else, though. How else are you going to save time?
Yeah, those are the big variables, what you just mentioned.
That's it.
Yeah.
But if you can simplify it to those three key things and go focus your energy and effort on what you can influence positive change in, so you save time.
So how did you end up in New Zealand then? Like, how was the journey to come to New Zealand?
Game theory. Game theory, plain and simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got sick of the Middle East. I was there for 5 years now, and I said, right, what am I doing in my life? I want to travel. I want to do different things. So all my mates were going to the US, and a lot of them were going to the UK in search of a better life. And I said, hang on, I'll do exactly the opposite. Triple my chances of success.
Yeah.
And I said, no, New Zealand seems like a cool place. You know, it seems like a place that I'd want to live in, maybe. But I wasn't sure, really. I was like, oh, I come here to party for a year. Yeah. Technically study for a year.
Same thing. Depends where you go. If you go down to Dunedin, it's probably that's party town down there.
I mean, I went to AUT.
Oh, you did? Yeah.
Nah, it's good. So I came here, studied and partied for a year, and I just fell in love with New Zealand, the people. That's what made it for me, you know. And I said, I want to stay here. So much so, I've even got a map of New Zealand tattooed on my arm.
Oh, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Far out. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, like, could you, from what you'd learned out of university, like, what was your next step? Like, could you see the opportunity that you wanted out there already, or did you have to sort of work, you know, a few different companies or jobs to get to where you are?
I guess desperation got the better of me after I finished university. I applied for 320 jobs.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I was like, I'm happy to work as a site manager. I'm happy to work as a project engineer. I would prefer to be a planner. Ideally, I'd want to be a planner. That's a project controls professional. But I'm happy to take anything that comes my way because of what happened in the 2008 GFC. I didn't want that to happen again in New Zealand.
320 jobs. And how many interviews did you get?
2.
2?
Yeah.
Shit.
One was for a site manager position. The other was for a project planner position down in Waiuku in Blue Scope Steel.
Did you find that kind of a bit demoralising? Because that's not a great ratio, is it?
Mate,
far out.
With my weekly allowance, I was trying to figure out whether I spend money on beer or on a pack of noodles or pay my rent.
Yeah.
Difficult choices, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I guess when you're in that situation, you don't really care what it takes. You know, you have a sole focus. Your focus point is you're going to survive by yourself. You're not going to be dependent on mom and dad.
What we were saying before about sales, like salespeople, you know, they hear 99 no's and then one yes, and
Yeah.
it changes their life, sort of thing.
That's
you know,
it.
It must have been a similar feeling, I guess.
Yeah. But I think I was going about it all wrong. You know, as I was applying for jobs. You know, I wasn't picking up the phone and going, "Hey, Mr. Recruiter, my name's Andy. I'm available to work." Because my real name is Annamalai Alagappan. So not a very anglicized name.
Yeah.
Had to change it to Andy.
Yeah.
Simplicity.
Well, you do what you got to do, eh?
100%.
Yeah, we see a lot of CVs that come in and they'll have their what did you say, like their real name or their
full name,
but then they'll have, like, in brackets they might have Dave or whatever it is, Steve or whoever. I think, unfortunately people have to do that when they're in a different country with a different culture and that.
Yeah, you adapt and adopt.
Yeah, that's right.
It's simple.
Yeah. And if you don't adapt, then you end up adapt or die.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I slowly started learning how to kind of start selling myself better, and then I realized that the whole New Zealand market's more of an interpersonal market. It's like, not many people pay attention to a piece of paper that comes across their desk. It's not like the rest of the world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, rest of the world, people are looking for something specific. Paper with that matches, and you have an interview. Not New Zealand. What I found made the real difference was I picked up the phone, spoke to the recruiter, and said, "Let's have a coffee." What did it cost me back then? It cost me about $8 back then for 2 coffees.
Yeah, it's $8 for 1 coffee now. Fucking hell.
True that. Back then, man, $8 was a lot of money for me back then.
It's a lot now.
Yeah. But and that made all the difference. Then they said, "Oh, this guy can speak English. This guy can communicate. This guy can looks like he's good talent. Let's focus the energy on finding him and putting him where he would fit."
Yep.
And I found a great recruiter, and he placed me in New Zealand Steel, where they really needed a planner, and then it was tough going to start with, but it was learnings, right? It was massive learnings for me.
And so once you're in, you got a job, you start working with the company and all these different projects and stuff. At what point did you realise that there was an opportunity for you to start up your own business, and what kicked that off?
I guess COVID for one. Till then, I've always wanted to start my own company, but I finished working in iron and steel manufacturing, did the baggage handling, the UFB project, got into construction. Was loving construction. I was the lead planner on Combe Commercial Bay.
Wow.
Auckland International Airport. I was part of the team that built a new terminal. So like extreme complex projects, and I was loving it, And Fletcher said, "Okay, why don't you take what you've done and kind of replicate it at head office across all the 5 companies? Be our divisional planning manager." I said, "Dude, I'm 30 years old. Look after planning for 5 companies. It's crazy."
Yeah.
But I'm not somebody who let an opportunity go. I'll give anything a go, man. No problem. If I don't know the job, I'll figure it out.
That's the key, eh? Like, you get people like that who, if they don't know something, they'll figure it out. Whereas some people will just go, "I don't know how to do that."
Exactly.
What are you going to try and figure it out, or what do you? And that's the frustrating thing about, I guess, being in business and managing people, is that you get the great ones who will take initiative, and then you get ones who would just happily sit back and let someone else do the work, and it's like, that can be really frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've always said, even as a manager, I mean, you can learn any skill. Skills teachable, skills learnable. What you can't teach people is great attitude. Show up to work with a willingness to work, willingness to learn. Mate, you go places.
Absolutely.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so how did you find the transition from, say, being an employee of a really biggest company in New Zealand pretty much, through to going out there and being on your own and having to chart your own course?
Yeah, it was interesting. So how I started the company was, I worked for a year as a divisional planning manager with Fletcher's, and it was going okay. But I was kind of fixing problems on a lot of projects, but that's not what I really want to do. I wanted to kind of go, I want to stop the problems from happening. But anyways, COVID hit and a lot happened, and I said, right, what do I really want to do? The borders are shut. The government's announcing that they're going to flood money into construction. There are, say, about 60 to 70 people in New Zealand that'll do exactly what I do. And I said, if I don't make the transition now, I never will. Yeah. I decided on a Sunday. On a Monday, I went and resigned.
Shit, that's a ballsy move, eh?
Oh, mate, I just like, I'll never do it. So,
Yeah.
spoke to the missus Sunday night. Spoke to my parents the same night. And like, what I'm thinking of doing. They're like, oh, it's COVID. What if you go into another lockdown? Figured it out. You know, just like everything else, figured it out. And I resigned, and I had a 3 months period to resign. And I said, I have 3 months. 3 months is ample time. I'll figure it out in 3 months. Yep. Mate, I as soon as I stepped into consulting, I got and I kind of went, yep, I'm resigned. I'm open for business, kind of thing, you know. From this date onwards, that was February 2020. Yep.
Yeah, that's
No,
right.
February 2021. Sorry,
21.
February 2021.
Yep.
And the number of phone calls I got, insane.
Because there's probably a lot of companies that were out there that were aware of you and your skill set, but they were like, because he works for them, we can't really go there. But now he's like, now the leash is off. It's like, mate, he's open for business. Let's go and tap his brain and get him working for us.
That's it.
Yeah.
But I didn't. From that point on, I didn't have time to set strategy for the business. So nothing. I was reacting.
Yeah.
I'll take any work that comes my way as long as I believe I can add value. I can back myself to add value. As part of that process, you know, I had to start learning tax.
Yeah, accounting, all that stuff.
Hey, what's dividend withholding tax? What's this tax? What's that tax?
Who knows? I think it's still a mystery. Yeah.
Anyways, had to get my accountant set up, had to get my website rolling, had to get all of these things in place that I never thought of. And the biggest thing for me was, you know, I resigned in February, but I didn't get paid in March because I raised invoices in March for which I get paid in April.
Right.
I'm like, shit, didn't really account for that, did I?
You're like back to student days.
Yeah, nah.
Noodles and beer now.
Not really.
Yeah.
I was a bit more kind of, and I had some backup. But it's still a shock, you know what I mean? Like all of these things that I didn't know about, you know, or didn't even really process through because I reacted and I said, I'm going consulting, fuck it, I'm just going to do it, you know?
That's so often the way though, because and I hear this from a lot of people that I talk to that start up their own business. They've got the idea and they just start doing it.
Yeah.
And they learn all this stuff along the way. Like they don't sort of have time to go, right, I'm going to learn all this and then I'll start my business.
Exactly.
Mate, it's like you take the opportunity and you make it work, and that sounds like exactly what you've done.
That's it.
And that's what I think probably 99% of people in business actually do.
Yeah. I guess so. Like as part of that journey, then, you know, I had a good base of clients. But then there also came a point I said, what am I trying to do? Am I just going to go from company to company and start solving all their kind of time-related problems with them and file EOTs for them, write a tender program, do this, do that? And I was pulling in crazy hours, man. Good 80-hour weeks.
Sheesh.
That's kind of still normal for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. I mean, it's kind of 60 hours now, but it's still like quite normal.
But when you're doing it for yourself, like you don't probably mind as much as if you were doing 60 to 80 hours a week for someone else. Like that could be not as encouraging, I don't think.
I don't think that's what drives me. I don't think it's necessarily doing it for myself for the or the money, or those are not the key drivers for me. It doesn't even bother me. Like I have interesting conversations with my dad sometimes. He gives me a call and he says, "Oh, so how's your monthly invoicing looking?" I don't know, Dad. I have no idea. Yeah. Like, why do you keep asking me this every month? I don't know.
Yeah, is he an accountant?
Yeah, no, I mean, he's like, estimate how many hours you worked. You know, how do you not know that as a business? I'm like, my key focus when I wake up every day is how can I solve a critical problem that I'm working on? The more complex it is, the better. That's what gets me out of bed.
Yeah,
it's
the
not
motivator.
It's not necessarily the money that comes with it, or because I've always said, you know, you do great work. Money's just a byproduct.
Yeah,
it'll flow.
That's really true, and that's I think the key to getting a business off the ground. You know, you put in that hard work at the start, and you, well, all the way through. But if you get things going at the start and get that momentum, you know, and it makes things a lot easier. If you get a bad name when you first start out, see you later.
And New Zealand's such a small market, and people talk.
That's when you find out how small New Zealand is. Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody. It's just so interesting.
Yeah.
No, but it's been really good though. Touchwood, it's been amazing. Running my own business, the amount I've learned in the last 2 years is incredible. I don't think I've ever learned all of this. Just if I'd work for another company full time. Yeah, and the decisions that you have to make and the consequences you've got to live with. Whether they're right, they're wrong, doesn't matter. you live with the consequences, good or bad.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you a similar question around. Do you look at your task differently now that you're a business owner as opposed to from the employment side of things? Do you look at the same task slightly differently?
Not really.
No.
It's pretty much the same for me. I'm there to add value. I get in there. There's a problem to solve. It's actually better for me now because what happens is because I work with all of these different companies, I'm a limited resource. I come in as a consultant at a pretty decent consulting rate. So my time is valuable, and that's kind of pretty clear right from the outset. I make it known that my time's valuable, and don't waste my time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So the amount of attention I get from all of these different companies is great. It's like I walk in, they have everything ready for me. Like, you know, I tell them where I can help them, how I can help them. Yep, and I'll leave. You know, every time I take on a project, the first thing I'm thinking about is what's my exit strategy. How do I add value, solve the problem, get out of here as quickly as I can.
Get out, yeah. I think people don't mind someone's value proposition as long as that person or that company is delivering that value. You know, like, mate, you could charge like $1 million a week or whatever, and they go, well, we're getting 1.5 in value, so that's great. It's a win-win, you know. And it's when people's perception of value is a negative, and that's when they start asking all the questions.
That's when all the disputes start.
Yeah.
That's when you start talking about the contract and what you signed up for.
Exactly.
All the different clauses.
Well, that's a good point, man, because if you start referring to that piece of paper, then you know that there's something wrong.
You got problems.
Yeah, it's like a fallback position.
Yeah. And some companies I work with, I just have a straight PO, a set of work that I need to do. It's pretty clear what I'm there to do. I get in, get out. I'm like, the last thing I want to do is be bum on your seat right here.
Yeah.
Like, you know, don't want to do that.
Yeah. You got bigger or you got other jobs to do. You got other people 100%. To help.
Yeah. But the hardest thing though, for me, is juggling all of these different jobs. Is how do I transition from a job that's fully related to earthworks to a job that's building a 50-story tower, or you're moving on to a warehouse job. You know what I mean? Like, in one day, I'd have different meetings that relate to starting from earthworks all the way to building buildings, which is all vastly different. Somehow, it's just so weird that I've had the skill to just remember information as soon as if I talk to you, I'm talking to you, I forget about everything else, and I'll focus on everything pertaining to your job.
So do you have like a little routine then in between, like where you've sort of got to unpack or unwind what you've been doing in order to focus better on the other one, or does it just sort of come naturally to you?
It just comes naturally to me. I think I just switch, and that's it. I forget about everything else. But the hardest thing for that for me is like, oh shit, I've got all of these deliverables to deliver now. When do I do that? That's when my late nights kick in. Get the kids to bed. Where you go? Exactly. Back to it.
Do you have a system to keep track of that? Or do you just sort of write notes, or how do you keep track of your workflow?
At any given point in time, I don't have more than 4 jobs on the go. It's like, you know, finish a job, move on to the next. Like 4 is like my capacity. It depends on the size of the job as well, I guess. But yeah, I do have a little system. Not probably the best, but I've recently started. You know, at one point I got super stressed, man. The amount of work I had is just like is affecting me like really mentally, and to a point where I actually had to go get a mental health coach.
Wow.
Yeah. Just to help me work through all the stress I was dealing with, the burnout I was dealing with. It was real. It was real, you know. I started putting on weight. I was drinking on a regular. Yeah, so those are all signs for me. I was like, shit.
And that's the thing, like you're not just dealing with that. You're dealing with your home life. You're dealing with work life, and you've got a couple of young kids, and that we all know how much time and attention they need. So for you to actually realise that things weren't in a good space, and to actually get some help, that's a massive thing, man. Like, well done to you for doing that.
Cheers, man.
Because that's a lot of people would just ignore that potentially and just think, it'll be right tomorrow. I'll just sleep on it. But
pop a concrete pill.
Yeah. And like they say, that's the worst thing you can say to someone, right?
100%. No, I like that changed my life. So I work with a guy called Drew Knowles. Man's a fucking genius. Like he unpacked my entire brain.
Wow.
And put things in perspective for me, to a point where I wasn't working 80 hours a week anymore. He I was only working like 40 to 50 hours or whatever.
Yep.
And that felt weird to me. This is funny.
Yeah.
I actually remember calling Drew and telling him, mate, I'm fucking running out of work, dude. He laughed.
Yeah.
He laughed at me and he goes, you're not running out of work. You just found more time for yourself and you don't know what to do with yourself.
Wow. And that's and it's realizing that all that extra time is time that you can be spending on things that you want to do outside of work. Yeah.
And that's what 2 years of working 80 hours a week or whatever does to you. You know? And in the middle of all of this, I started the podcast. That was that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
That's all time consuming, right? Everything's time consuming. But all I knew was work. And suddenly now I've got a little bit more time on my hands. And that's the instant it's like a saber-toothed tiger attacking me.
Yeah.
It's like, shit, I'm going to run out of business.
Yeah.
But that's not true at all. You know? There's plenty of work out there. I was working more effectively. I had more time for my family. I've now started hitting the gym every day. Every working day.
Nice.
Yep. Done that for about 6 months now. 6 to 8 months, yeah.
It's amazing what difference going to the gym makes, and getting the old blood flowing and moving and
Huge. That's the 45 minutes in my life that I don't think, apart from when I'm sleeping.
Yep.
My gym time is, nothing runs through here. It's just,
nice.
I just focus on what I'm doing there.
Yeah,
so it's magical.
It's a different space, like you're still thinking, but you're thinking about what you're doing rather than what you need to do or the work side of things.
Or this job or that stress.
Yep.
Nothing. It's just like focus. And I got F45, so
mate,
definitely give you time to think.
That's good. Good structure around F45. I know a little bit about it, but it's it's a good structure, that's for sure. How do you explain to people exactly what it is you do? Because you're in quite a niche within the construction industry. So when you, well, no, not you try and do a sales pitch, but when you explain to people what you do, what do you say to them?
So I manage time on a project. It's plain and simple: controls and planning. Yeah. So my offering is kind of 4 bits. Yeah. So let's say you have a set of drawings and you want to know how long the job's going to take. I'll sit down and break down a methodology, write a whole methodology, and come up with a program of works to say, well, this is the intended methodology we're going to build in. We're going to break it up into 2 zones, whatever, and we're going to have 2 crews working. You know, make some assumptions. You know, from quantities, derive production rates on how long things take to put up, and write a program of works, and clearly articulate what a critical path is. Yeah. So chain of logically linked events that defines the duration of a project, right? And help communicate that effectively and clearly to the construction company, so then they go, right, we're happy to sign up to a fixed term contract for that particular time frame, or they want to make alterations to it. You know, I do my first pass and give it to them, and then they may have additional input to make things better. You know, smarter, faster, better. Like I said, there's only 3 ways you can save time on a project, right? So that's tender planning. Then I do execution planning, which is like, you know, I go on a job site week on week or month on month, whatever the requirement is. And in accordance with their baseline program, I monitor whether they're ahead or behind. Yeah.
How do you monitor that?
Status updated program. You know, these are all the things that you should have done over that period. What has been completed, what's not, what's outstanding. Go for a walk around site, you get a general feel.
Right.
Yep. And then sit down with the team and you go through a list of tasks and say what's happened here, what's happened there, what not. Yep. Forecast what's remaining. Yep. And then you reschedule your entire program and right, okay, so now things might have changed from what you originally anticipated. Change is the only constant, right? And there may be additional design input come in, which is different from what you anticipated, so on and so forth, and that could be causing delay, right? But for people on site, they're just like that, you know, they're just trying to get the job done. They want to do a good job. They don't necessarily want to see the holistic big picture, right? So I sit and then like simple, effective reporting and basic communication, try and get them say, dude, your critical path was that, but now it's changed to this. This is where you need to put your effort and energy into. And then I try and help them identify key risks that are going upcoming. What are the opportunities that they could focus on to save more time?
Right.
And if you're saving time, you're definitely saving money, because time's way more important than money. You lose all the money, you make more money. Lose time, it's gone forever. Along with your repetition.
Yeah, that's right. Is it more often that you go to site and see a project being behind schedule or ahead of schedule? Which one would you encounter more?
Behind.
Behind, yeah.
Well, 9 times out of 10 we're always behind, always playing catch up.
Yeah.
And multiple root cause reasons for it.
What do you think would be the main reason?
Design. Everything boils back to design. So if you haven't focused on constructability in design, when you're designing, how do you make a building more buildable? You know, it's easier to build.
Yeah.
Focus on construction methodology in the design, wherein you don't have to adjust the scaffold 4 times to put up services on a sealant.
Yep.
Shit like that. It's maybe temporary works. It may be multiple different things, but it always comes back to the design. Yeah, or the interpretation of the design by the construction company.
Yeah, that's a key one, I reckon. Because I watched a bit of that Grand Designs program, and these things always, these beautiful, amazing houses that, one-off type things, and not these spec home type stuff, but they always say at the end of the program, oh, so how much did you go over budget by? There's like this expectation that it's going to go over time and over budget.
Yeah.
So is that do you guys sort of have that in the back of your mind, or do you, and is that what you're trying to avoid?
Absolutely. Yeah, through open, honest communication. See, I'm a big fan of that. So if you let all parties know right from the get-go, you are tracking behind by a couple of weeks. But there are things that you're doing to bring the project back. But you're also asking for help and saying, if there's additional things that you guys can help with, let us know. But here's our critical path. This is where we can affect and influence change together, not you versus me. Not versus he versus him. It's not the how do you foster a collaborative environment, because you never see that in construction.
There's such a wide range of people on a building site too, like you've got the project managers, and then you've got the actual, so the guys that are building, or the labourers and that sort of thing. I imagine you have to you got to talk to a lot of different audiences, so that they all understand exactly what's happening.
100%, because you got your client, you got your main construction company. Your main construction company then subs it out to multiple different subcontractors. So it's communication up and down that chain, and effectively managing change across right from your designer, client, main contractor, all your subcontractors. So all of these it gets quite complex at times to manage all of that and manage change within all of that, but it's not impossible.
Yeah.
Think about it. We've been building buildings since the pyramids, man.
Oh, absolutely.
How fucking difficult can it be?
Yeah. I mean, someone like myself would look at a large building, and you'd think, bloody hell! Like, you look at everything on that building has been touched by a human, essentially.
Yeah.
Bar some of the big panels and all that sort of thing, but everything has been done by a group of people. It's like this. It's almost like termites building an anthill. There's hundreds of thousands of these little things building this massive structure, similar for humans, and that's kind of quite mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And then, but for someone like you that comes in and has an understanding of knowing exactly what needs to happen and when.
Yeah.
Like you must break it down and really simplify it for people.
Absolutely. I've been focused on innovation and technology now on how I better the communication piece. Because like I said, it always comes back to effective communication for me. So now I'm in the process of going. A program of works is written with multiple lines on a piece of paper. So what I'm essentially asking people to do is actually visualize the spatial element on site that I'm referring to on there, and hoping he actually understands. Hoping, in the keyword, he understands, right? He understands exactly what zone, what grid line that he's actually referring to.
Do you get a few blank stares at times? Or
of course, man. I mean, you don't necessarily see the world the same way I do. You know what I mean? We all have a version how we see the world and how we view things, which is, some may be pictures and some may be text and data. It's interesting, right? So how do we change that is what I'm focused on, right? So I'm like, every job today has a 3D model. You'd have seen it in job.
Yep.
Your side of things, it's got a 3D model.
Yes.
Some people call it digital twin, so on and so forth. So now I'm actually in a process where I'm trying to animate that 3D model, and it comes back to 1 minute learning. I'm blown away by this concept of 1 minute learning. How do I get the guys on site into 1 minute learning? Yeah, if I can, for his job or his task, if I can animate the entire build sequence out for him, this goes first, this goes next. You dig, you put your retaining wall, then you start your steel structure, you carry on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I can animate that in that particular zone and say, mate, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
How simple would that be for anybody to understand?
So teaching someone in 1 minute, essentially, that's what you're saying.
That's it.
Yeah, but visually.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because there's a big difference between, say, explaining it visually as opposed to reading it or having to read it or telling someone about it.
100%.
Yeah.
It's how many times have you watched reels on Instagram
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're easy to watch.
or TikTok?
Yeah.
You know, it just never ends. It's like, you know, I mean, people love that, consuming information in 1 minute. Anything more than 1 minute's too long.
Mm.
So why isn't the entire construction industry focused on 1 minute learning?
Mm.
Breaking down complex situations into small, bite-sized, consumable bits of information.
Mm. Mate, I think you've hit onto something pretty amazing there.
You reckon?
Oh, fuck yeah. Like, that's... yeah, I'm just sitting here going, shit, how can I teach some of our team in 1 minute? You know, to be able to break a skill down or break a project down into 1 minute sections and, you know, drip feed it to people, you've got a way better chance of them understanding it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, do you think that could be your bloody, your real little superpower there, eh?
You reckon?
Yeah.
I'm totally winging it here.
Fake it till you make it, man. That's part of being in business. Eh?
That's
Like you gotta do this shit to
Yeah.
figure out what works, and as soon as you figure out what works, that's when you absolutely hone in on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not impossible. I've already animated a few 4D videos now, but that's on for the whole kind of building site as a whole. So now, you know, I've started doing something interesting as well. I go on all these construction sites, and some of the hardest things for me is actually going and telling the entire job site, you're in delay.
Oh, yep.
I've done it for 10 years. Yeah. I've had nightmares about it. I've sat and thought about, how do I tell these bunch of people that they are in delay very creatively without pissing them off, but how do I then extract positive change out of it? To the point I got fucking sick of it, man. Like, why am I always the bad guy?
Yeah.
I'm not the bad
You
guy.
want to be the bad guy all the time.
Yeah. Right. So now what I do is I take a snapshot of that model of where they should be at the end of every single month. Yeah. Put a date up there. Print it out in A3, A0, whatever. Stick it up in the smoker room. Say January, February, March, April, May. This is what your site should look like.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's cool, man. I
Yeah.
like that.
And I'll literally walk away from there, and I come back at the end of every month. And guess what? They start by telling me, so by the way, you know that steel in that section has not gone up yet. Here's the reasons why. So we may be in delay. And I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
So they already know. There's self-realization now.
Yeah.
And it's fucking great. I love it.
And they're coming to you, like, they're front footing that.
Yeah.
Like, it mightn't be good news, it might be bad news, but at least they're coming to you going, look, we realise we're not where the picture says or whatever. And but it gets them thinking more. And that's actually like real similar to you know, that visualization stuff, or having, you know, one of those boards that you put your favourite car on, or your favourite house, or your ideal holiday. It's like that in a way. It's getting people to buy into that message.
That's it.
In a visual way, and getting them all working in that same direction.
Yeah. But think about it. He's having a cuppa.
Yeah.
Looking around the smoker room.
Yeah.
What does he see? He sees, oh shit, it's May. We should be there. What does site look like?
Yeah.
Okay, nothing like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So I'm trying all these little different things to improve that communication piece in the construction world, and it's I think I'm kind of blessed in a way to have the opportunity to work with all of these different companies, and one, understand what they do really well, understand their shortcomings of their systems, processes, technology, whatever it may be, and you know, sit and process all of that information, soak it all in.
It's the benefit of the analytical mind. You're exposed to so many different ways of doing, I won't say the same thing, but
Similar
building
things.
a building or building something, and everyone will do it slightly differently, and you can see the differences, and
Absolutely.
you can, man, that's a great position to be in.
That's right.
Yeah.
Touch wood. I'll tell you, I reckon I'm one of the luckiest consultants in New Zealand.
Cool. That's bloody great.
Yeah.
It's good to hear, and it's good to hear you actually, you know, saying that out loud, because, you know, Kiwis are generally pretty conservative sort of people. So for you to come here and, like, you know, get into their industry, and, you know, become, you know, one of the team, and to actually go, I'm making change here, I'm making, like, good bloody positive change.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's bloody awesome. The
Good,
country
man.
needs more people like doing what you're doing.
Oh yeah.
And even just with the attitude. Like,
Yeah.
your attitude and your approach to it is fucking amazing.
Oh cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad you think so, dude.
No, it is cool, man. How do you keep yourself upskilled? Because you're probably that environment's probably quite fast paced and changing. You're driving a lot of some of that change, and where do you look to for upskilling or inspiration?
I have some great mentors.
Yeah.
Some amazing mentors. So I think what I'm doing is cool, but those guys are always 5 steps ahead of me. Yeah. But yeah. So I regularly catch up with them for beers or whatnot and understand what's going on in the rest of the world.
And is it mainly around tech, or is it just around like critical thinking, or what is it?
It is so there are a couple of people I'll call if I'm in a sticky situation in my project and or in any of my projects and I can't actually figure out what's happening. And both those people I've known for about 10 years and they'll answer my phone immediately every time. You know, so there's something I just have sounding boards that I can talk to. You know, plus my mental health coach, he's great as well.
Yeah.
Drew, like. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I already know the answers to everything. I just need to talk to somebody who will listen and understand what I'm saying, or even partially understand what I'm saying.
But that's the power of a really good coach, is that they don't tell you the answer; they get you to
figure it out yourself.
Because you basically know everything. Like, and we've had people tell us this before too. It's like you guys know what the answer is, but you just never been able to articulate it.
Yeah.
So that good coach or whoever that person will figure out ways to ask you questions to get that information out of you.
That's it, eh?
Yeah.
That's it.
If you're there telling a business person what to do, you're not a good coach.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I fully agree.
Yeah.
You know, no, Drew just gives me kind of structure, you know, and gets me to work within that structure.
Yeah.
He's like transaction cycles, and he goes on and on about all of these interesting ways of working. That's cool.
No, that's super cool. Super cool.
So yeah, so I have tech people. I've got, you know, sounding board people that I reach out to when I need some help, or I just go on a long drive.
Nice. You got to have a good network of people around you, eh?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, they say you're the product of the sort of the closest 5 or so people that you work with or associate with.
You are the average.
Yeah, the average. That's right.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, rings true. And so, I guess the reason why we're sitting here having this conversation is because I saw one of your podcast clips on LinkedIn. I was like, shit, that's interesting. This guy's like, he's in the construction space, and I tried to draw a line between what we do in construction. I was like, well, there's buildings, you know, building buildings, managing buildings. And I thought, I'll just reach out and see what happens here.
Yeah.
And it's been cool just to, you know, meet you in the flesh. After we've had a couple of phone calls and some dialogue back and forth on LinkedIn, but then to actually sit down and talk about it. Your podcast, you said it's the only podcast that's in the construction space.
Yeah, with video, with audio.
Yeah. With
the way we do it. Yep. Well, probably the only core construction based podcast in New Zealand.
And that's awesome in itself. Like, one of the reasons why I started doing this one was to basically try and tell people about what we do and what goes on in our industry.
Yeah.
And I imagine that, you know, you're probably wanting to do the same sort of thing where you want people to understand. Maybe not everybody, but maybe a certain sector of your industry. You want them to know what goes on.
Yes, not just what goes on, but I'm more wanting to influence positive change. Because, like I was telling you earlier, I've worked at 29 organizations, so I get insights into what's working, what's not working. But I don't want to be the only person voicing that out. I want to create a platform for people who understand the real problems in the industry to come and have a conversation. Because where would you go? Otherwise, all of those key bits of, you know, critical thinking, problem solving, and problems that they run into, all of they get lost within a project. You know, you finish a project, you go, oh shit, that was fucked, mate. Yeah, whatever. But then people from that team go on to multiple different projects, and all of that's just lost. Yeah. You know, so how and I can see a lot of common problems between all of these different companies. So how do you bring all of those common problems to light? How do you then focus on digital innovation or, you know, creative thinking to start solving all these problems? You're not going to if you don't talk about it. So where's the platform for these people to talk about it? So that's partially one of the big reasons I wanted to start a podcast. Two, I can also talk. I love talking.
It's good. I love listening.
Yeah, and I just thought it would be a great kind of add-on to the business to say it's a great way to promote the business. You know, I mean, have all of these clever people come and have a good conversation with you. Yeah. You know, people want to listen, but I'm just helping them create a platform and helping them voice their opinion. Yeah. Doing it for me, yes. More so for the industry, the love and the passion I have for the industry, and wanting to make it better. You know, focus on better forms of contract, so you don't have construction companies go broke.
Yeah.
So why is it that you always hear about construction companies go broke?
Yeah.
No other industry.
Yeah.
You hear so many people going broke. Why though? I mean, somebody's got to ask these questions.
And that's you. Yeah. And it's.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Trying.
Yeah.
Trying.
I mean,
to
good
do
on
it.
you. I mean, like, all these things start as an idea and be like, oh, that'd be cool to sit down and talk about this and that. And you know, as they go on, like, they slowly gather momentum, and you know, you end up talking to some really cool people and some really interesting people around what they do in their own industries and things. Yeah. Did you? Because you're quite big on your social media side as well, which is really good, and that's something that we're slowly getting more and more into. How did you sort of find your current? You have an agent, is that what they're called?
So the attention seekers manage my entire social media for me. Yeah, but there's a pretty cool story of how why I'm on social media so much.
Yeah.
I think a few years ago, my friends and I, we got together and we said, oh, let's start a tea company. Yeah, we'll just import some black tea. We'll come up with some really cool packaging, you know, and we'll start selling it, and the product will talk for itself.
Yeah.
So we all chucked in a bit of money, and because my family back in India own a little plantation, so we're like, oh, so there's tea connections there, and we're like, okay, you know, and New Zealanders love drinking tea. You know, what could go wrong? Yeah, it's a foolproof business plan.
Why hasn't anyone else thought of this?
And so we imported all this tea and stored it in a spare bedroom in my house, and we're like, all right, okay, we all had full-time jobs back then, and we're like trying to get this tea going. Quite a bit of tea, by the way. We had 1 ton of tea.
Whoa.
Of black tea.
That also says that you've got quite a large spare bedroom. There's a ton of it in the bedroom.
Yeah. Mate, that bedroom was all packed. All you could do was open the door.
Wow.
It was floor to ceiling, packed with boxes of tea. Right?
Yep.
And time went on. We're getting pretty close to the expiry date of the tea.
Oh, yeah, true.
We still have a ton of tea in my bedroom.
So what do you do with it?
Mate, we donated it all in the end. Yeah. Right, and we closed the business.
Yeah.
But I stopped and I thought about what went wrong. You know, it was not that it was bad tea; it was really good tea. But the problem was we weren't getting front and center people. We didn't understand the power of social media. We didn't allocate a marketing budget. You know, we just thought we had a foolproof business plan.
Yep.
Because we filled out a piece of paper and said, "Oh, great,
it's gonna work."
Yeah, it's gonna work. Fucking great. People have to buy it. What are you saying?
Yeah.
So, lessons it taught me was the importance of, you know, getting your product front and center to people. Yeah. But then I met Stan and the attention seekers, and they added on to that belief system.
Yeah.
And they took it one step further. So now they took me as a product and started putting me out on social media every day with my belief system, so I can control my story of how I want to be heard. And it's really interesting. Since that happened, like 2 years ago, every working day they put out a post on LinkedIn for me.
Wow, that's a lot of content, eh?
It's amazing, eh?
Yeah.
But what that's done is I get interesting calls from people. Yeah, they start talking to me like they know me.
Yeah, because they probably do. They think that they know you because they've either seen you online or whatever. Yeah.
Or they've related to posts that I put online, and that gels with their belief system, right? And they immediately start talking to me like they know me. I'm just there going, I have no fucking idea what this guy is saying. I have no idea what he's talking about. I don't even know who he is. Yeah. So you start quickly learning. It's really, really interesting, right? So that's then slowly led into starting the podcast, and I just told you reasons why I started the podcast. So it's been an amazing journey.
Was the podcast your idea? Or was it part of the journey that you're on with the attention seeker?
When we started out with the attention seeker, it was just photos of me with a belief system write up that I go out every day. So you know, people read part of the belief system, see my picture, put the two together, my face, my belief system, and if you start doing it every day, people don't forget about it.
Yeah, front and center, right?
That's it.
Yeah, when people think about, you know, the services that you can provide, you're the first guy that they think
That's
of.
it. If they say planning problem, Andy, give Andy a call. You know, most people I work with, would always come back to me and say, give Andy a call.
Yep.
And it's been a constant rolling thing, which is great. And you know, and then we stopped that and started we didn't really fully stop it, but we started focusing more on the podcast, because I built up a series of clients that I love working with. Now I have a base clientele, and I went, okay, now it's about giving back to the industry in a way, sort of form.
Yeah.
To go, right, let's create this platform to influence positive change.
And you said you had saying before that you've had a couple of really cool examples of that platform, being utilised by some other people in your industry.
Yeah.
You said that they've been able to gain employment out of it or something.
That's right. Yeah. So I had one of my guests come on,
Mm.
and he was looking for a job, and I said, dude, why don't you just come on my come on my podcast, right? And he came on. We had a great chat about everything he knows, everything I know. But a great chat, and then 2 days later, he gets 3 job offers.
Wow.
So it's almost become like a platform for people to come in and portray their talents, try and help the industry move forward, portray their talents, and land the job with their dreams. Apparently,
Yeah.
like I never even thought all of this would be possible.
But that's so cool when you look back to think that something that you've created off the back of your beliefs and your personality is assisting people to that extent.
It's
That's
amazing,
powerful,
isn't
man.
it?
That's bloody powerful.
Yeah, it's so powerful. The power of social media, man. It's insane. Like I love doing that podcast, and I think I'll carry on doing it for a while.
Yeah.
I've done 23 episodes now, I think, something like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. It's fucking expensive,
Yeah.
but it's a small price to pay.
Oh, it is. And
It's a small price to pay.
And yeah, when you see the results and it start to gain momentum, like the dollar figure kind of pales in comparison.
Yep.
It starts to shrink down compared to the reach and the influence and the value that you end up having.
100%. 100%. Like I can already see the value of it. I don't think I've ever been in one meeting in the last 6 months that someone in that meeting has not brought up the podcast.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
Somebody will bring it up,
Yeah.
whether it's something positive,
Yep.
or they're giving me shit for something.
Yeah.
Either way, I
Either
know
way.
they like it.
Either way, they're talking about you.
Yeah, 100%.
And like that's one of those things that all these marketing people talk about. It's if people are saying good things about you or bad things, at least they're talking about you.
That's it.
And if they're not talking about you, then that's the big problem.
Yeah. So they give me their time, their energy, and they're dedicating all that to this,
Yeah,
and I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you think, like, sort of when you were back, in Dubai and that, did you think where you are now is where you would be?
God no, not in a million years.
Mm.
Yeah, all I thought about was Formula One. I couldn't think about anything else.
Yeah.
And then started making money, and all I could do was party. Yeah, I mean, partially I was pissed off that I didn't get into Formula One or into the racing industry. So I was like, might as well enjoy life. I've got some money now.
Mate, absolutely.
Yeah. So, anyways, that all changed within a year. I ended up in New Zealand, and I'm so thankful for being here, though.
Yeah.
It's the best country anybody could ever live in.
Man, that's cool. Good to hear. One thing I was going to sort of ask you before we wrap it up is, like, how do you go about growing your business, and does that appeal to you, or does it sort of freak you out a bit, or how do you grow what you do?
That's been my biggest challenge since I became a consultant. I struggle with it. I really do. Like, I have mental blocks of hiring people. I think I'm not sure. Then I'm all of a sudden accountable for this person. I can't wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning and work till 3 at night. I might have to bring more structure. I don't know. I'm just I have all of these weird things that I think about, and hiring a person is also mean I'm taking on extra risk. What does that mean for me? What does that mean for my business? And right now, I wake up in the morning, I show up, I add value, I come back, hit the gym, play with the kids, back to work again.
Yeah, rinse, repeat. Yeah.
Rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
It's great, right? Now, I do want to grow the business. Yep. Part of me working with Drew is focusing on my mental health coach and personal coach is trying to figure out how we clear my mental blocks to make that happen. Yeah, because funny enough, for the last 4 weeks, we've been talking about a formal contract that I need to draft up with him to, get it out there to start engaging people to see who's interested in actually come along for the ride. And I've just been putting it away, and I don't put a lot of things away.
Because I mean, what you don't want to do is water down, because you spend all this time building up your reputation.
Yeah.
And the biggest risk with employing people is that they're going to chip away at your reputation.
That's
unless
the problem,
they're super shit hot,
Yeah.
and you can tell by certain people. But you don't want someone to come in and water down what you're doing.
That's what I worry about a lot too. So it's like they may not deliver the same results I deliver, but then how do I package up what I do to then get them to do only one bit?
Yeah.
So I've actually thought about it different. I've been thinking about it differently now, right? So I'm like, why don't I just hire a senior planner from overseas, say Malaysia, India, wherever, doesn't really matter, that would just support me getting things in place, be my back office support, while I be the front client facing person, and I'm out there doing what I do best. But I also have support in the back, which I do now, not a full-time support. Like I have a lawyer who kind of helps me draft a few things. I have an admin person that I call on for every time I need some help. I have Stan taking care of my social media. Great accountant. So I've got a team of good people at the back, kind of supporting me. But then making that transition to hiring somebody full time is quite daunting.
It's a big jump.
It's a big jump.
It is a
big jump. So
And
what's next? I don't know.
And when you actually, once you do it, you go, oh, why did this take me so long? Provided you find the right person. But it is a big jump, and I'm glad you got, say you've got that your mental skills coach coaching you through that block, because that block's there for a reason. That's your mind sort of saying not yet. That might be a thing that is deliberately happening in your subconscious, maybe.
He reckons it's something that happened in my childhood, interestingly enough.
Wow.
Yeah. He reckons it's some experience that I've had in my childhood that's coming back to go, that's a saber-toothed tiger, stay away from it. Trust issues, whatever it is. I don't know. I don't know what it is. So that's what we're kind of working through. And hopefully I'll get there.
No, mate, you'll get there. Yeah. And once you unblock that, and you start to get someone on board, and you grow your business and stuff, mate, you'll be flying. Not that you're not flying at the moment, but you'll just keep going up in levels and stuff. So
I mean, I do have a dream. I want to retire at 40, but
nice.
No, sorry. Let me rephrase that. I will retire at 40.
You will. Nice. And you'll say, I like the way you changed the words there. You will. Saying you will is far more it's more of an action item than saying you want to.
Exactly.
Everyone wants to, but not many people say they will. Mate, that's cool, man. I've appreciated your time today, and just sitting down having a chat with you, and it's just been good to learn more about what you do. And whenever I see your stuff on LinkedIn now, I'll definitely be clicking on it and paying more attention to
awesome,
it. So mate, it's been good.
Likewise, man, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, mate. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, mate.